Now that we have the basics for categorical frequency distributions and grouped frequency distributions, we'll define two more that are very related: a relative frequency and a cumulative frequency distribution. So let's start with relative. A relative frequency distribution is going to be very, very similar to a grouped frequency distribution with one exception. Instead of using traditional frequency, we're going to use what's called relative frequency. And relative frequency is going to be very similar to how we calculated percentages in the categorical frequency distribution. The only difference is we leave it as a decimal. So we are just going to divide the frequency by the total number of data points and then leave this number as a decimal, and that'll be our relative frequency distribution. The other type we look at is a cumulative frequency distribution. A cumulative distribution is going to be, once again, similar to a frequency distribution and a relative frequency distribution, the way we find the class boundaries and the class limits and everything, but we have a different type of frequency called cumulative frequency. A cumulative frequency distribution shows the number of values less than or equal to a specific value. Essentially, how to find the cumulative distribution is add the frequency of a class with the frequencies of all the classes that came before it. So now that we've defined each of these, let's do an example. Here we have the very basics of the frequency distribution we did in the last video, where we looked at the age of presidents at the time of their inauguration. However, we restricted it to just the limits in the frequency. To find the relative frequency, we need to divide by the total number of data points there are. And if you add up all the numbers in this frequency column, you get 45. So we're going to divide all these numbers by 45. 2 divided by 45 is going to be 0.044. 8 divided by 45, 0.178. 16 divided by 45 is 0.356. 9 divided by 45 is 0.2. 7 divided by 45 is 0.156. And then finally, 3 divided by 45 is 0.067. So those are our relative frequencies. For cumulative frequency, the first frequency is the same as it was. Cumulative frequency adds, so now I need to add 2 plus 8 to get 10. 10 plus 16 to get 26. 26 plus 9 to get 35. 35 plus 7 to get 42. And then 42 plus 3 to get 3. So now I have my cumulative frequency distribution.